birthday butterflies. Leo stared into his closet, a battlefield of fabric and forgotten fashion faux pas. Max's birthday dinner. Just the words themselves sent a swarm of butterflies, no, more like dive-bombing wasps, into his stomach. This wasn't just any dinner, this was Sarah's first time meeting his friends. And Leo, well, Leo was hoping to finally, officially, make a move. Seriously? His roommate Ben leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. You've been at this for an hour. It's pasta, Leo, not the Met Gala. Easy for you to say, Leo muttered, shoving aside a Hawaiian shirt that screamed regret. You're not trying to impress anyone. Impressing Sarah requires basic hygiene and not wearing something that clashes with the tablecloth. You've got both covered. Relax. Ben pushed off the doorframe. Go with the blue button down. It makes your eyes look less panicked. Leo reluctantly agreed, pulling out the shirt. It was a safe choice, a dependable choice, but did it scream eligible bachelor ready for commitment? Probably not. He paired it with dark jeans, hoping the overall effect was effortlessly cool rather than slightly rumpled accountant. He checked his reflection, smoothing down his unruly hair. He'd practiced a few conversation starters. So, Sarah, what's your favorite obscure documentary about the mating rituals of Bolivian tree frogs? Too weird. Sarah, I find your intellect incredibly stimulating. Too intense. He sighed. Maybe he should just stick to complimenting her on her choice of wine. Safe. Boring. But safe. He grabbed his keys, feeling the familiar thrum of anxiety in his chest. He was always like this, overthinking every interaction, second-guessing every decision. He just wanted everything to be perfect. For Max, for Sarah, for himself. He arrived at Luigi's Trattoria almost half an hour early. The aroma of garlic and oregano hung heavy in the air. He told himself he was scouting the place, checking for optimal seating arrangements, ensuring Max's surprise cake would arrive on time. He was really just hoping to catch a glimpse of Sarah, to steel himself for the evening ahead. The restaurant was still relatively empty, a few early diners scattered amongst the red-checkered tablecloths. He scanned the room, his heart skipping a beat as he spotted a woman with long dark hair. It wasn't Sarah. Disappointment pricked at him. He took a seat at the bar, ordering a glass of water. He pulled out his phone, pretending to scroll through emails, but his eyes kept darting towards the entrance. He reread his prepared conversation starters, tweaking them, refining them, torturing himself with the possibilities of disaster. Each passing minute felt like an eternity. He pictured Sarah laughing, charming everyone with her wit and intelligence. He imagined himself, a bumbling idiot, spilling wine on her dress, tripping over his words, and generally making a complete fool of himself. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. It was just a birthday dinner. Relax, Leo, relax. But the butterflies, or rather, the dive-bombing wasps, were staging a full-scale aerial assault. He closed his eyes, picturing Sarah's smile, hoping it would be enough to get him through the night. A case of mistaken identity. The restaurant pulsed with a frenetic energy, a clatter and clamor threatening to overwhelm. Leo, already burdened by the significance of Max's birthday celebration, weaved through the throng, a laden tray his precarious burden. Spotting their table, a haven of familiar faces nestled near the back, he quickened his step. Then calamity. A collision. A woman. The ruby contents of a wine glass cascaded, staining her pristine blouse with a scarlet tide. Heavens, I'm so sorry! Leo stammered, mortified. He deposited the tray with a muted crash and fumbled for napkins, his face aflame. Allow me. A throaty chuckle, warm and resonant, sliced through the noise. Clara, he vaguely registered as her name, waved off his concern. It's merely wine, she declared, accepting the offered tissues. Adds a certain flair. Her amber eyes danced with amusement. Flustered, Leo concentrated on blotting the spill. Honestly, I feel dreadful. I wasn't paying attention. He finally looked up, truly saw her. She possessed a striking beauty. Dark curls framed a face that hinted at both youthful exuberance and worldly wisdom. "Don't give it another thought," she reassured, her voice laced with gentle humor. "These things transpire." He noticed her proximity to the cluster of mothers from Max's social circle. An assumption sparked within him. "Are you one of the mums?" he blurted, instantly regretting the clumsy phrasing. A delicate arch of her brow. "And if I were?" she countered, a playful challenge in her gaze. Leo's innate desire to please surged. "I simply meant, you possess a remarkable youthful glow. I wouldn't have placed you as such." He inwardly winced. Smooth operator, he chided himself. Clara's smile broadened. She leaned in slightly, a delicate fragrance of spice and citrus enveloping him. "Why, thank you," she murmured, her voice a silken thread. "That's most gracious." He discovered himself ensnared by her captivating stare. "It's the truth," he insisted, perhaps a shade too vehemently. "You appear radiant." A vague gesture encompassed her being. "Parenthood clearly suits you." A ripple of laughter, like wind chimes, escaped her lips. "It certainly keeps things interesting," she responded, her eyes alight with mischief. She offered no correction, no denial of his assumption. She played along with his misinterpretation. Leo, utterly unsuspecting, plunged onward. "So, who's the lucky child?" he inquired, his voice amplified in the sudden lull of conversation nearby. She paused, assessing him. "Let's just say," she confided, her voice a tantalizing whisper, "I'm a mom to someone exceedingly special." He beamed, misunderstanding fueling his enthusiasm. "That's marvelous! You must be so proud." A sudden wave of realization washed over him. "Although, I don't recall seeing you at school functions." A graceful shrug, drawing his gaze to the elegant line of her neck. "I'm a relative newcomer to the scene," she offered, her tone suggesting a hidden narrative. Utterly captivated, Leo leaned closer. "Well, welcome to the fold," he said, a genuine smile illuminating his face. "It's a pleasure to meet you." He extended his hand. "I'm Leo." Her hand met his, a spark igniting at the point of contact. "Clara," she responded, her gaze locking with his. "The pleasure is entirely mine, Leo." A tap on his shoulder jolted him. Max, his grin knowing, stood beside him. "Leo, what are you doing?" "We're waiting for you to propose a toast." Leo blinked, momentarily bewildered. He turned back to Clara, a question hovering on his lips, but she merely winked, then dissolved into the crowded room, leaving him grasping a tray of depleted glasses, wondering what had just transpired. "Playing along." "Honestly, Leo," Clara drawled, swirling the remains of her wine, "you're approaching this all wrong. You can't just tell someone you like them. You have to insinuate. Subtlety is key." Leo's ears burned. He fiddled with his water glass, nearly knocking it over. "Insinuate? Like what? Stare intensely and hope they read my mind?" Clara laughed, a low, throaty sound that made Leo's stomach flip. "No, silly. Like find common ground. Discover shared interests. Compliment something specific, not just you're pretty." She wrinkled her nose. "That's so pedestrian." He leaned forward, genuinely intrigued. Okay. Compliment something specific. Like her, shoes?" Clara shook her head, her dark hair catching the light. "Unless they're truly remarkable shoes, no. Think deeper. What does she do? What's she passionate about?" He thought for a moment, brow furrowed. "Well, she mentioned she's an architect." Clara's eyes lit up. "Perfect. There's your opening. Talk about the use of negative space in modern design. Casually mention your favorite building, the Guggenheim, perhaps? Show her you have taste." Leo's eyes widened. "The Guggenheim. I love the Guggenheim. The way the spiral just unfolds, it's breathtaking." He'd visited it as a child and been captivated ever since. He hadn't thought about it in years. Clara smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached her eyes. See? You're not hopeless. The point is, be interesting. Be yourself, but the slightly more polished, intriguing version. He found himself captivated, not just by her advice, but by her. The way she effortlessly commanded the conversation, her sharp wit, the genuine warmth that peeked through her playful facade. He'd never met anyone quite like her. You make it sound so easy. It's not easy, Clara admitted. But it is rewarding when it works. And remember, she winked, confidence is key. Even if you're faking it till you make it. Fake it till you make it, Leo repeated, a small smile playing on his lips. He felt a surge of something. Hope? Maybe even excitement. He'd come to this dinner expecting another excruciating evening of forced conversation, but now he felt oddly invigorated. He chuckled. So, Mom, he teased, enjoying the role reversal. Any other pearls of wisdom you'd like to impart? Clara laughed again, a bright, infectious sound. Patience, young grasshopper. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a successful relationship. She paused, her expression turning thoughtful. Although, speaking of Rome, have you seen the Pantheon? The oculus is a marvel of engineering. The way the light floods in. And just like that they were off, lost in a discussion about architectural wonders, their voices animated, their laughter echoing through the restaurant. Leo found himself completely at ease, sharing his thoughts and opinions with a freedom he hadn't felt in ages. Clara, for her part, found herself genuinely enjoying his company. He was surprisingly insightful, endearingly awkward, and undeniably charming. The charade was becoming something else entirely. The tension of the earlier mix-up faded, replaced by a comfortable, almost magnetic pull. As the evening wore on, Clara found herself wondering if playing along had been such a bad idea after all. Sarah's arrival. The doorbell chimed, a bright, insistent melody that sliced through the comfortable hum of conversation. Leo jumped, nearly knocking over his wine glass. That must be Sarah, he announced, a nervous energy suddenly thrumming through him. Clara raised an eyebrow, a playful smirk dancing on her lips. Showtime? Leo shot her a quick, appreciative glance before hurrying to the door. He took a deep breath and plastered on his most welcoming smile, the kind he usually reserved for meeting a particularly demanding client. He swung the door open, revealing Sarah Chin, a whirlwind of vibrant energy. She was dressed in a stylish blazer and jeans, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. Leo! She exclaimed, stepping inside and pulling him into a warm hug. So sorry I'm late. Traffic was a nightmare. No worries at all, Leo said, stepping back, his hands hovering awkwardly in the air. He caught Clara watching them from the living room. We were just chatting. Sarah's smile faltered slightly. Oh. Great. Chatting is good. She glanced around the apartment, her eyes taking in the art prints on the walls and the comfortable, lived-in atmosphere. Nice place you have here. Thanks, Leo said, gesturing vaguely. Come on in. I want you to meet Clara. He led Sarah into the living room, his heart doing a frantic tap dance in his chest. Clara rose gracefully from the sofa, extending her hand. Sarah, it's lovely to finally meet you. Leo's told me so much. She delivered the line with an effortless charm, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Sarah shook Clara's hand, her smile a little strained. Nice to meet you too, Clara. She looked at Leo, a hint of confusion flickering across her face. So, are we ready to celebrate? Absolutely. Leo chirped, a little too enthusiastically. He rushed to the kitchen, grabbing a bottle of sparkling cider from the fridge. Let's get this party started. He popped the cork with unnecessary force, the sound echoing in the suddenly tense silence. He poured the cider into flutes, handing one to each of them. To Sarah! And a successful project! He raised his glass, avoiding eye contact with either woman. They clinked glasses, the sound brittle and awkward. Leo launched into a rambling explanation of the project, desperately trying to fill the silence. He peppered his monologue with technical jargon and industry buzzwords, hoping to impress Sarah and distract Clara. But his efforts were backfiring. Sarah, initially engaged, gradually began to fade, her attention drifting to Clara, who watched Leo with an amused expression. Leo noticed Sarah's increasing disinterest and, in an attempt to rectify the situation, turned his focus solely on her, asking about her trip and her work. He realized too late that he'd left Clara out entirely. She sat quietly on the sofa, sipping her cider, her gaze fixed on him. He saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Was it disappointment? Annoyance? He couldn't quite decipher it, but it made him uneasy. "So, Sarah," Clara interjected, her voice smooth and even. "Leo tells me you're a brilliant architect." Sarah's face lit up. "Oh, well, I wouldn't say brilliant," she demurred, but a hint of pride crept into her voice. "But I do love what I do." She launched into a detailed description of her latest project, a sustainable housing complex. Leo, feeling increasingly like a referee in a tennis match, shifted awkwardly from foot to foot. He wanted to contribute to the conversation, to demonstrate his own knowledge and impress both women, but every time he opened his mouth, he seemed to say the wrong thing. He felt like he was drowning, caught in a turbulent current of his own making. Brotherly teasing. Max sauntered into the private dining room, the clinking of ice and his whiskey sour preceding him. He spotted Leo first, animatedly gesturing with a breadstick as he spoke to a woman Max didn't recognize. Sarah was there too, of course, but she seemed off. She was picking at her salad with a forlorn expression that didn't suit her usual effervescent personality. He clapped Leo on the back, nearly sending the breadstick flying. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was a beast. Who's this?" He gestured towards Clara, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Max, this is Clara Morrow." "Clara, this is my Neanderthal of a brother Max," Leo said, a flush creeping up his neck. Clara offered Max a warm smile, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Pleasure to meet you, Max. Leo's been entertaining me with tales of your adventures." Max raised an eyebrow at Leo. "Oh, really? Entertaining, huh? Seems like someone's got a thing for older women." He clapped Leo on the back again, a little too hard. "Watch out, Leo, you'll be robbing cradles next." Leo's face turned a shade of red usually reserved for fire trucks. "Max! That's not, I mean," he stammered, utterly flustered. Clara, to her credit, just laughed. "Don't worry, Leo. I've been called worse." But Max noticed a slight tightening around her eyes, a subtle shift in her demeanor. Sarah, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "Max, can I talk to you for a second?" Her voice was uncharacteristically quiet. He followed her out onto the small balcony overlooking the street. The city lights blurred below, casting a hazy glow on her face. "What's up, Sarah? You seem sad." She sighed, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's just, I thought this was going to be a fun birthday dinner. But now it feels like I'm competing for Leo's attention with her." She gestured vaguely back towards the dining room. Max frowned. He hadn't realized Sarah was so invested. He'd always seen them as just good friends, colleagues even. Competing? "What do you mean?" "I don't know," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "He's just different around her. More attentive, more charming. He never tells me I have a captivating smile." She hugged herself, shivering slightly in the cool night air. "Am I wrong to feel like I should be mad?" Max put a comforting arm around her shoulders. "Hey, don't worry about it. Leo's just being Leo. He gets a little enthusiastic sometimes. Doesn't mean anything." He squeezed her shoulder reassuringly, but even as he spoke the words felt hollow. He'd seen the way Leo was looking at Clara, the way his eyes lit up when she spoke. It was more than just enthusiasm. But he's never like this with anyone else. Sarah mumbled, more to herself than to him. She chewed on her lip, a habit she had when she was nervous. "Maybe I just misread things." Max felt a pang of guilt. He'd made things worse with his stupid teasing. He knew Leo, knew how easily embarrassed he was. And he knew Sarah, knew how easily she could be hurt. He'd wanted to stir the pot, but now he was just making a mess. Cracks in the facade. The chime of crystal against porcelain cut through the sudden quiet like a shard of ice. Sarah's radiant smile had curdled into a tight grimace. "Leo," she began, her tone brittle. "I need an explanation. What was all that about this evening?" Leo choked, the burgundy wine catching in his throat. "What do you mean? I thought it was going wonderfully." He darted a worried glance at Clara, who was listlessly toying with her dessert fork, the usual spark in her eyes now dimmed to a somber ember. "Wonderfully? You barely spoke to me." You were practically glued to Clara, hanging on every syllable, chuckling at jokes that fell flat. Sarah smoothed an errant lock behind her ear, her hand betraying a slight tremor. "I believed we were dating. Yet you treated me like some unwanted tag-along." Leo's face fell. "No, Sarah, you've got it all wrong. It's just Clara's witty, you know? And I felt pressured to be entertaining. I didn't intentionally make you feel ignored." He felt himself sinking, each word a lead weight dragging him down. Entertaining her? Sarah's voice sharpened. "So all night you were performing for her? You brought me to this elegant place as an audience for your Clara courting routine?" Clara winced. The half-eaten mousse suddenly seemed heavy, a leaden mass on her plate. The luscious fragrance now felt cloying, almost suffocating. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She'd envisioned harmless flirtation, a light-hearted game, but witnessing Sarah's unveiled distress, it felt different, tainted. Cruel, even. Lost in his own predicament, Leo continued to stammer. "No, that's not it at all. I like you, Sarah, truly. But she's just so sharp, and I get flustered, and I'm making a mess of this, aren't I?" He raked his fingers through already tousled hair. "You're hopeless," Sarah declared, her voice devoid of anger, replaced by a hollow disappointment that resonated like a struck bell. She rose abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor, a harsh punctuation to their unraveling evening. "I need to step outside." She turned and walked away, leaving Leo in her wake, a portrait of utter bewilderment. Clara followed Sarah's retreating back, the rigid line of her spine speaking volumes of wounded pride. The restaurant, once alive with convivial energy, now pulsed with a subtle, accusatory hum. She turned her gaze back to Leo, his features contorted with guilt and dismay. The endearing awkwardness she had once found charming now seemed merely pathetic. A wave of queasiness swept through her. The game had spun out of control. She had reveled in the attention, the playful repartee, the excitement of the deception, but the price was too steep. The carefully constructed facade she had so willingly donned was collapsing, revealing the painful reality beneath. She needed to confess to Sarah. She needed to confess to them both. But the prospect of admitting her culpability, of unraveling the tangled web of her lies, sent a cold tremor through her. The truth revealed. The cacophony of the restaurant swirled around Leo, a dizzying blend of clinking glasses and boisterous laughter. He felt a gentle tug on his sleeve. Clara, her eyes sparkling with mischief, gestured towards the dimly lit hallway leading to the restrooms. "Need to steal you for a sec? Girl talk. Secret stuff." He followed her, a nervous flutter in his stomach. The hallway was surprisingly quiet, the noise of the party muffled by thick walls. Clara leaned against the cool, tiled wall, her arms crossed, a playful smirk dancing on her lips. "Okay, Leo," she began, her voice low and conspiratorial. "Time for a truth bomb. A big one." She paused, letting the anticipation build. "I'm not Eleanor's mother." Leo blinked, his mind struggling to process the words. He replayed their entire interaction in his head, searching for clues he'd missed, hints he'd misinterpreted. Had he been completely delusional? How could he have been so wrong? He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Clara chuckled, a warm, melodic sound that cut through his confusion. I know. Shocking, right?" Eleanor doesn't even have a mother who looks like me. She's an only child. But the pictures, Leo stammered, finally finding his voice. You were in the photo album. Ah, yes, the photo album, Clara said, a hint of amusement in her eyes. Those are Eleanor's aunties. I'm someone else entirely. A +1. A friend of a friend who decided to spice things up a bit. Leo stared at her, his brain short-circuiting. The sheer audacity of it all was almost breathtaking. He felt a laugh bubbling up inside him, a hysterical release of pent-up anxiety and disbelief. He let it out, a loud, unrestrained guffaw that echoed in the hallway. Clara watched him, her expression softening. I probably should have told you sooner, she admitted, a hint of remorse in her voice. But you were just so charmingly flustered. I couldn't resist. He wiped a tear from his eye, still chuckling. Charming? Flustered? I thought I was being smooth. Oh, you were, Clara teased, a glint of playful wickedness in her eyes. Just not in the way you intended. The laughter subsided, leaving a comfortable silence in its wake. Leo looked at Clara, really looked at her, seeing her not as Eleanor's mother, but as Clara. Confident, witty, and undeniably intriguing. The realization washed over him. He didn't care. Maybe he should care that he was duped, but he found that he couldn't. He was too drawn to her energy, her honesty, her willingness to play along. So, he said, a grin spreading across his face. Who are you, really? Clara leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. That, she said, is a story for another time. Salvaging friendships. Leo found Sarah near the espresso machine, her back to him as she stared out the window at the now darkening cityscape. He swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. Sarah? Can we talk? She turned, her expression unreadable. The bright, almost aggressive energy she usually radiated seemed dimmed, like a light bulb about to flicker out. About what, Leo? The elaborate performance you put on last night? He winced. It wasn't a performance. It was a colossal misunderstanding. I thought you were Clara's mom. He rushed the words out, hoping to stem the tide of her disappointment. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Clara's mom? Seriously? A small, almost imperceptible smile tugged at the corner of her lips, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. I know, it sounds ridiculous. But the lighting was bad, and I was nervous, and I just assumed. He held up his hands in a gesture of surrender. I am so sorry, Sarah. I value your friendship. I really do. And I would never intentionally do anything to hurt you. She sighed, the tension seeming to drain out of her shoulders. Okay, Leo. I believe you. It was awkward, but I appreciate you explaining. She paused, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. It's just, I guess I felt a little foolish. Like I was being laughed at. Never, Leo said earnestly. Never. I would never laugh at you, Sarah. The air remained thick with unspoken feelings. The apology had been made and accepted, but the easy camaraderie they once shared seemed to have fractured, leaving jagged edges. He shifted his weight, unsure how to bridge the gap. So, friends? He offered tentatively. Friends, Sarah echoed, but the word lacked its usual spark. She forced a smile. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to finalize these budget projections. Big presentation tomorrow. Leo watched her walk away, the weight of the awkwardness settling heavily on his chest. He knew it would take time to truly repair the damage. Turning, he saw Clara leaning against the doorway, watching him with a knowing look in her eyes. She pushed herself off the frame and walked towards him. Rough night? She asked softly. He managed a weak smile. You have no idea. Clara stepped closer, the scent of her perfume, a blend of jasmine and something earthy, filling his senses. Well, at least something good came out of it. Her eyes met his, a playful glint dancing within them. I got a very enthusiastic admirer. Leo felt his cheeks flush. I still feel terrible about the whole mom thing. Clara laughed, a warm, genuine sound that chased away some of the lingering tension. Don't. It was hilarious. And honestly, she lowered her voice, a little flattering. A charged silence hung between them. It was a different kind of awkwardness than he felt with Sarah, a thrilling, electric kind. So, Clara said, breaking the spell with a playful bump of her shoulder against his arm. Are you going to ask me out, or are you going to keep mistaking me for my mother? Leo's heart leaped. He grinned, the weight on his chest finally lifting. Definitely the former. Dinner? Tomorrow? Tomorrow works, Clara said, her smile mirroring his own. And Leo? Yeah? Try not to mention my non-existent children, okay? Deal, he said, and as she walked away, he couldn't help but feel that even though he might have salvaged a friendship, he might have just found something a whole lot more interesting. Unexpected sparks. The last crumb of chocolate cake vanished, taking the edge off any lingering unease. Clara's aunt, bless her heart, then launched into a side-splitting saga detailing young Clara's obsession with squirrels, complete with physical comedy depicting acorn-burying attempts in the living room rug. A genuine laugh bubbled from Leo, less stilted than he feared the night would elicit. Clara, with mock horror, playfully nudged her aunt. As the evening wound down, a silent consensus settled, time to wrap things up. Hugs and effusive thanks were exchanged, and presently Leo found himself on the porch with Clara, the crisp air a refreshing change from the cozy, animated interior. Well, Clara remarked, smoothing a stray wisp of hair behind her ear, the porch light painting her face in a soft glow. That was certainly something. Leo chuckled. An understatement, perhaps, but surprisingly enjoyable, all things considered. He shuffled his feet, feeling a familiar wave of insecurity threaten to wash over him. The corners of Clara's eyes crinkled as she grinned. I'll admit, I anticipated total disaster after you confused me for someone's mother. Hey, in my defense, the lighting was atrocious. Leo countered, instantly regretting the defensive tone. Nailed it, Maxwell. Her laughter, a bright, airy melody, resonated within him. Excuses, excuses? But I'll give you a pass. After all, it spiced up the evening, didn't it? Infinitely more stimulating than dissecting the nuances of municipal bonds, which I suspect was the alternative. Leo replied, relieved to have navigated that conversational minefield. A comfortable quiet descended, underscored by the chirping of crickets. Leo felt a desperate urge to hold on to the moment, to prolong her smile, to postpone the night's end. Mustering his courage, he ventured. I wouldn't happen to be completely repulsive after my initial blunder and the ensuing mayhem, would I? Because if not, maybe coffee sometime? Under less theatrical circumstances? He internally cringed, hating his hesitant delivery. Clara's smile broadened. Coffee sounds lovely, Leo. A beat. And for the record, I found your initial misstep rather endearing. A rush of relief coursed through Leo, almost buckling his knees. Great! Wonderful! I mean great! Smooth operator. Reaching for her phone, she said. Give me your number, and I'll ping you. He recited the digits, acutely aware of his clammy palms. As she typed, a notification lit up his screen. He glanced down. A text from an unknown number. It's Clara. Looking forward to that coffee. A genuine, unadulterated grin spread across his face. Me too. He typed back. After a final wave and a soft goodnight, Leo watched Clara retreat inside. Lingering on the porch, the night air felt invigorating rather than biting. A sense of buoyancy propelled him towards his car. He'd approached this dinner bracing himself for forced dialogue and strained smiles. He'd expected an evening of awkward pauses and a relentless search for common ground. Instead, he'd discovered a spark. A wholly unexpected spark, with a woman he'd initially mistaken for someone's relation. Life, he thought, certainly knew how to keep a person guessing. And sometimes, those off-kilter throws landed right in your glove. Perhaps the most meaningful connections blossomed in the most unlikely of gardens. He ignited the engine, a smile still dancing on his lips, and eased away from the curb, already envisioning the taste of coffee and the sound of Clara's laughter.